The clock on the nightstand reads 11:47 p.m. when I hear the knock. I'm sitting on the edge of the bed in room 23 of the Sunset Motor Lodge, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looks exactly like a deformed dandelion, the kind Deborah Langley would have fined me $250 for back in Whispering Pines. 3 weeks I've been here now. 3 weeks of scratchy sheets that smell like cheap bleach and the constant hum of the highway outside. 3 weeks of $42 a night, bleeding what little I have left after the divorce gutted me. Tonight's dinner? 6 saltines and 1 bruised apple one found behind the gas station. For more days until my pathetic coffee shop paycheck hits. Everything I own fits in 2 beat-up suitcases, one with the clothes I didn't pawn, the other with a couple of books, old bank statements, and a photo album I still can't burn, even though every picture feels like Deborah's clipboard stabbing me in the ribs. I pull my thin cardigan tighter. The heater clanks, but never warms. I'm too broke to complain again. Beggars can't be choosers. Grandma used to say, the TV is dead. Remote missing batteries I can't afford. So I sit in the dark, try not to replay how I got here, how the perfect suburban dream turned into this. But the memories flood anyway. Brandon's faced the day, he said. I deserve a real woman now. The house with the exact beige paint Deborah approved. The garden I kept flawless until cancer hit. The knock hits like a violation notice. 3 sharp raps. My heart slams. Nobody knows I'm here. Mom thinks I'm crashing with a cousin. Old neighbors stop calling after Deborah's gossip campaign, label me the deadbeat who almost tanked property values. Who knocks at midnight in a place like this? I freeze, then force myself up and creep to the peephole. A woman, late 20s, dark ponytail, expensive jeans and leather jacket, glances over her shoulder like she's dodging the HOA patrol. Who is it? My voice cracks through the door. Vanessa Cole, she answers fast, nervous. I need to talk to you about Brandon Morrison and about Deborah Langley. Please, it's important. I know what they both did to you. The air leaves my lungs. Brandon. Deborah. How does this stranger know? I know how crazy this looks, she says, but I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because they lied to both of us. And I have proof. Every instinct screams, lock the door. But something in her voice, raw, angry, familiar, makes me slide the chain and turn the deadbolt. The door opens, and Vanessa stands there under the buzzing fluorescent light. Eyes red, clutching a thick manila envelope like it's the last life raft in Whispering Pines. I'm so sorry to do this at night, she whispers, voice cracking, but you need to see what's inside. The truth about Brandon's money and Deborah's little empire. I stare at the envelope, then her face. What truth? She takes a shaky breath. Everything they told you is a lie. Let me show you how a woman who once had the perfect HOA-approved life ended up eating crackers in a $42 motel. Come on, Claire, let me take you back. 7 years ago, I was 29, freshly married to Brandon, and we just closed on our dream house in Whispering Pines. HOA, the neighborhood looked like a magazine spread. Identical beige siding. Emerald lawns cut to military precision. White picket fences that never needed painting because the rules forbade any other color. I thought it was paradise. Brandon worked sales. I ran my little graphic design side hustle from the spare bedroom. We were partners in life and in keeping up appearances. The day we moved in, Deborah Langley, president for life, or so she acted, showed up at our door with a welcome basket and a 20-page rulebook. We're so glad to have you, she cooed, pearls gleaming. Just remember, darling, we all sacrifice a tiny bit for the greater good of property values. Her smile never reached her eyes. I laughed it off. How bad could it be? First year was bliss. Brandon and I planted tomatoes in the backyard, approved variety only, of course, and hosted block parties where Deborah gave speeches about community spirit. I even volunteered as treasurer when the old one quit. Deborah loved me then. Call me her right hand. We'd sit in her perfect kitchen drinking overpriced coffee while she bragged about how she protected the neighborhood from undesirables. I believed every word. Then came a cough. Just a little tickle at first. Brandon waved it off as allergies. But weeks passed, and he was exhausted, losing weight, night sweats, soaking our HOA-approved Egyptian cotton sheets. I dragged him to the doctor. Stage 3 lung cancer. Aggressive. The oncologist laid out the nightmare. Chemo, radiation, possibly surgery. Insurance would cover some, but not enough. Deductibles, experimental drugs, out-of-network specialists. Total could hit $400,000. We had maybe 30 grand saved. The house had equity, but we'd only owned it 2 years. The business was growing, but we'd just bought new equipment. What do we do? Brandon asked. I was terrified. I didn't hesitate. We sell whatever we have to. The car, jewelry, none of it matters if you're gone. You pull me close. I don't deserve you. Looking back, those words were the first red flag I ignored. The treatment started. Brandon's hair fell out in clumps. He threw up constantly. I drove him to every appointment in the old beater we kept because the HOA banned unsightly vehicles. But the fines started rolling in anyway. First one, $200 for grass exceeding 2.5 inches. Eyesore during your absence. I'd been at the hospital 20 hours a day. Deborah personally delivered it with a sympathetic head tilt. I'm so sorry, Claire dear, but rules are rules. Think of the children. I paid it. Then the mailbox was not polished to HOA standard. Another $150. The tomatoes were unauthorized vegetation. $300. Every time I left for chemo, Deborah's spies, her little neighborhood watch ladies, snapped photos. The stack grew faster than the medical bills. I refinanced the house, pulled every penny of equity, put it toward both cancer drugs and fines. Sold my car for $3 grand cash. Started biking to the hospital in the rain. Pawned my wedding ring. $800 for one more round of chemo. Deborah sent a certified letter. We notice your property is beginning to look neglected. Further violations will result in liens. My mother offered her retirement money. I took it because I had no choice. I sold clothes, laptop, even the good dishes. Anything to keep Brandon alive and the HOA wolves from the door. I sat beside his bed one night, holding his thin hand. We'll get through this, I whispered. Together. He squeezed back weakly. I believed it. 10 months of hell. 10 months of crackers for dinner, so the medical co-pays and Deborah's fines could be paid. 10 months of watching my husband shrink while the neighborhood stayed picture perfect. Then the miracle. Remission. Color returned to Brandon's face. He could walk again. Doctors used words like remarkable recovery. I cried in the hospital bathroom from pure relief. We moved into a smaller place inside the HOA because the big house still carried debt. But I didn't care. Brandon was alive. We could rebuild. Or so I thought. But Brandon came back different. At first I chalked it up to trauma. He'd almost died. Of course he needed space. But the changes piled up like Deborah's violation notices. He became glued to his phone, smiling at the screen in secret. Started buying new clothes we couldn't afford for client meetings. Claire, come on, join the HOA gym. Spent 40 minutes styling his hair every morning. Glad you're feeling like yourself again, I said. Try and be supportive. Inside I felt the first crack. Then the little cuts began. Are you really wearing that to the community picnic? He asked one Saturday, eyeing my faded jeans, the only ones left after I sold the rest for his treatments. What's wrong with them? Nothing if you don't mind the neighbors whispering. Deborah's influence, I realized later. He'd been lunching with her and her clique. Another day. Your hair looks kind of tired. I've been trimming it myself in the bathroom because salon visits were now luxuries. I'd gained 15 pounds from stress eating cheap food while juggling his care and the business alone. You've let yourself go a bit, haven't you? he said one night, scrolling his phone. "I've been a little busy keeping you alive and paying Deborah's fines," I snapped quietly. He shrugged. "Maybe you should care more about the neighborhood standards." Deborah says appearance matters. The words, "I love you," vanished from his vocabulary. He started coming home late, 9, 10, sometimes after midnight, smelling like someone else's perfume. Client dinners, he claimed. When I asked, he turned icy. "After everything I went through, you're going to accuse me? Seriously, Claire." I felt guilty for even questioning. He'd almost died. He deserved to feel normal. So I gave him space. I gave him everything. Then came the Thursday that ended my world. I walked into our tiny kitchen after a 12-hour shift at the coffee shop. Yes, I'd taken a second job because the fines never stopped, and found Brandon at the table with divorce papers. "Sit down," he ordered. Not kindly. I sat, heart hammering like it did when Deborah's certified letters arrived. "I want a divorce," he said flatly, like he was ordering pizza. "We're not right for each other anymore. This cancer thing changed me. I need to live for myself now." The room spun. "Is there someone else?" He looked up, eyes cold. "That's not the point. I deserve a real woman now. Someone who takes care of herself. Someone who fits the neighborhood. Not this." He gestured at me like I was one of my own dandelions. After selling my ring, my car, my dignity to save his life and pay Deborah's endless citations, I wasn't real enough. He'd already filed. His fancy lawyer would handle everything. I sat there alone after he stormed out, staring at the papers while the HOA-approved clock ticked. The divorce was a second cancer. Brandon's attorney painted me as the negligent one who let the property decline. Never mind that I'd liquidated everything while he recovered. The judge was sympathetic but bound by community property laws and, worse, HOA liens Deborah had quietly placed on a house during treatment. I lost the business we'd built. Brandon bought me out for a pathetic $18,000, exactly what was left after the debt from medical bills and fines. He kept the clients, the future, his health, and he kept her, the new woman from the HOA gym. Perfect hair, perfect lawn, perfect everything. I saw them at the community pool 2 weeks after the papers finalized. She laughed at his jokes, hand on his arm, while he looked happier than he ever had with me. I left before they noticed, cried the whole bus ride home to the cheap apartment I could barely afford. Then the eviction notice came. Landlord wanted the unit for renovations. With my shredded credit from the medical debt and HOA liens, no one would rent to me. That's how I landed at the Sunset Motor Lodge. $42 a night. Just temporary, I told myself. But weeks turned into 3, and I was still here, eating crackers, staring at the ceiling stain, wondering how the woman who sacrificed everything ended up with nothing. Deborah's final parting shot had been a community newsletter. Some residents unfortunately failed to uphold our standards even after receiving every opportunity. We wished them well elsewhere. Everyone knew it was about me. I thought the nightmare was over. Until tonight. Vanessa sits on the edge of my bed, knuckles white around the envelope. "I was his girlfriend for 8 months after the divorce," she says quietly. "He told me you were the crazy one who neglected the house and tried to destroy property values out of spite. I believe him at first. Then he did the same thing to me, cheating, criticizing, dumping me with I deserve better. So I started digging. Not just about Brandon, about Deborah too." She spreads papers across the thin blanket. Bank statements, HOA financial reports, insurance forms. His insurance covered way more than he admitted. But that's not even the worst part. Look at these. My hands shake as I read. Brandon had a secret account. Insurance reimbursements he hid. Money from the business he siphoned while I pawned my ring. Over $120,000. But Vanessa isn't done. Deborah was in on it, or at least using the same playbook. She selectively enforced rules against you during the cancer months. Fines went straight into a slush fund. HOA insurance reimbursed her for emergency maintenance that never happened. She's been skimming for years. I have a friend on the board who finally cracked. This is fraud. Claire. Against you. Against the whole neighborhood. You could take both of them down. Tears burn my eyes. But they're not sad anymore. They're furious. Why help me? Because what they did is evil, Vanessa says. And someone has to stop them. For the first time since the knock, I feel something besides hollow. I feel the spark of revenge. Tell me what we do. My voice doesn't shake. It's steel. Vanessa introduced me to her lawyer friend Patricia the very next morning. Patricia took one look at the spread of documents, Brandon's hidden deposits, Deborah's falsified special assessments, the selective violation log that targeted only my address during chemo weeks, and actually smiled. This is dynamite, she said. Fraud during divorce proceedings. Embezzlement from HOA funds. Judges hate being lied to, and neighborhood associations hate publicity even more. We'll reopen the divorce, file against the HOA, and drag Deborah into the light. I had $300 to my name. Patricia waved it off. Contingency. I only get paid if we win, and I really want to win this one. We filed motions to reopen everything based on newly discovered evidence and fraud. We sent complaints to the state insurance board about both Brandon's medical scam and Deborah's HOA skimming. I started recording everything quietly, patiently, the way I'd learned to smile at Deborah's community meetings while my grass grew a quarter-inch too long. The first board meeting after the papers were filed was pure theater. Deborah stood at the podium in her signature pearls. Voice honey sweet. We've all noticed some unfortunate rumors circulating. But rest assured, Whispering Pines remains committed to fairness and high standards for everyone. Her eyes flicked to me in the back row like I was a weed. I smiled back, the same tight smile I'd given while writing checks for dandelion fines. Inside, I was counting the days until her empire cracked. Brandon's lawyer tried the same old song. My client was fighting for his life. Any financial decisions were made in good faith. Patricia laid the bank statements on the table like evidence in a murder trial. Good faith doesn't include secret accounts stuffed with insurance checks while his wife sold her wedding ring. The judge's face hardened exactly the way Deborah's did when someone dared plant the wrong flowers. 3 months crawled by, depositions, document requests, late-night strategy sessions with Vanessa over cheap diner coffee. We became real friends, bonded by surviving the same pair of liars. Brandon looked rattled at the next hearing. His new girlfriend had already started distancing herself once the gossip hit the HOA Facebook group. Deborah, though, doubled down. She called an emergency meeting and stood there clutching her clipboard like a shield. Certain residents, she announced, voice dripping concern, have chosen to attack the very organization that protected them. It's sad, really, but we must stay strong. A few sheep nodded. Most looked uncomfortable. I raised my hand. Deborah, since we're talking transparency, maybe you'd like to explain why the emergency roof repairs last year were paid twice. Once by insurance and once by special assessment that went straight into your personal account. The room went dead silent. Deborah's pearls suddenly looked like a noose. That is a malicious lie, she sputtered. I have never. Vanessa stood beside me, phone in hand, and played the audio recording her board friend had risked everything to get. Deborah on a call laughing about that cancer widow finally learning her place while transferring HOA money. The gasps were audible. Deborah's face went the color of the beige siding she loved so much. This meeting is adjourned, she shrieked. But the damage was done. The county investigator showed up the next week. HOA records were seized. Brandon's secret account was frozen. I sat in the courtroom 3 weeks later wearing the decent outfit Vanessa loaned me. Brandon shifted nervously in his expensive suit. Deborah sat on the other side with her lawyer, looking smaller without the clipboard. The judge didn't waste time. The original divorce settlement is vacated due to fraud and non-disclosure of assets. The HOA liens placed during the medical crisis are declared unenforceable and were part of a pattern of selective harassment. MS. Bennett is awarded 70% of the recalculated business value plus damages. The number hit like a miracle, $260,000. Not every penny I'd lost, but enough, more than enough, to breathe again. Brandon also caught criminal charges for insurance fraud. Fines, penalties, a record that killed his client list overnight. His new girlfriend ghosted him the day the local news ran the headline, "Local HOA president and ex-husband accused of double fraud." Deborah's fall was slower but sweeter. The board voted her out in an emergency session. State regulators hit her with embezzlement charges. Her perfect house went on the market with a lien the size of her ego. Neighbors who once nodded at her speeches now crossed the street. I watched from my new apartment, real windows, working appliances, no beige restrictions. The moving truck haul away her pearl collection. Dark humor of it all. The woman who fined me for an unmowed lawn during my husband's chemo was now the one whose lawn service quit because she couldn't pay. With the settlement, I did 3 things immediately. First, I paid my mother back every single dollar plus extra for the cruise she dreamed about. She cried on the phone. "You didn't have to, baby." "Yes, I did," I told her. "You were there when the fines and the cancer tried to bury me." Second, I bought a modest 2-bedroom with actual sunlight and no clipboard-wielding president telling me my tomatoes were subversive. I got a reliable used car. No more biking through rain while Deborah spies watched. I bought clothes that fit and made me feel human instead of a cautionary tale. Third, I started my own digital design agency from home. Small at first, just me and honest clients who didn't care if my grass was half an inch too long. It grew slowly, built on truth instead of terror. Life wasn't perfect. Some nights the betrayal still stung like a fresh violation notice. I'd wake up tasting the saltines and remembering Brandon's cold eyes or Deborah's sugary smile while she calculated another fine. But the good days outnumber them now. Therapy helped. Old friends came back once the gossip died. I learned to trust again, carefully, slowly, but genuinely. 1 year after Vanessa's midnight knock, we met for lunch at a real cafe. Real coffee. No crackers. "I still can't believe you found me that night," I said. Vanessa grinned. "I had to. What they did was wrong. Someone had to stop them." I thought about the woman I used to be, the one who smiled through chemo drives and midnight fines, who believed community meant something. She wasn't weak. She was patient. She was watching. She was waiting. And when the moment came, she struck back with evidence instead of screams. I wasn't bitter anymore. I didn't hate Brandon or Deborah, though I'd never forgive either. I simply didn't care. They were small now. Tiny footnotes in the story of how I rose from the motel room and the dandelion fines. Free from their rules. Free from their lies. Free to live on my own terms. And that freedom tasted better than any HOA-approved landscaping. The girl who once cowered under Deborah's clipboard was gone. In her place stood a woman who knew her worth, who wouldn't be fined into submission, who wouldn't be broken. I was finally, truly, free. But the best part, the part that still makes me smile in the dark, is knowing that somewhere in Whispering Pines, the new residents whisper about the legend of Deborah Langley. The Karen who thought she owned the neighborhood until the quiet woman she tried to destroy came back with receipts. They say the grass in front of her old house still grows wild now. No one dares mow it. Rules, after all, are only for the little people. And Deborah? Last I heard, she's living in a condo outside any HOA jurisdiction, working some retail job where she has to smile at customers instead of fining them. Every once in a while I drive past the old entrance sign. I don't stop. I just roll down the window, feel the sun on my face, and laugh, the kind of laugh that comes after you've won. The kind that says, I survive your rules, your cancer, your betrayal, and I'm still here. The neighborhood looks the same. Perfect lawns, beige houses. But I know the truth now. Behind every pristine facade, there's always someone eating crackers, waiting for their knock at midnight. And when it comes, the clipboard queens better run. Because patience has teeth, and evidence has claws. I drive away smiling, radio up, windows down, no fines in my rear view. Just open road and the sweet, glowing satisfaction of a woman who finally got to write her own rules. Sometimes people ask me if I go back and change anything. Would I have ignored that first fine? Would I have fought Deborah sooner? I always give the same answer. No. Because every ridiculous citation, every sleepless night counting pennies for chemo and violations, every cruel word from Brandon after he recovered, they forged the woman I am now. The one who doesn't flinch when someone in power smiles and says rules are rules. The one who keeps receipts. The one who knows that behind every greater good speech there's usually a secret bank account. Vanessa and I still meet once a month. We become the kind of friends who don't need to explain the scars. She started her own small business too. Interior design for people who actually want personality instead of HOA beige. Last week she texted me a photo. Deborah's old house with a big red sold sign and a new family moving in. The lawn was already slightly overgrown. We both laughed until we cried. Think they'll last 6 months before the new president starts measuring blades of grass? She asked. I give them 3, I replied. But at least they'll have the story. Someone should warn them. Brandon tried to reach out once, 6 months after the settlement. A pathetic text. Can we talk? I've been doing a lot of thinking. I stared at the screen for a long minute, then blocked the number. Some bridges don't need rebuilding. They need to stay burned so the smoke can remind everyone else what fire feels like. My new house is a garden now. Tomatoes of every unauthorized color. A little flag that flies whenever I feel like it. No one finds me. No one measures my grass. And on quiet evenings, I sit on the porch with a real glass of wine, not crackers, and watch the sunset paint the sky the exact shade of freedom. Sometimes I think about the ceiling stain in that motel room. It really did look like a dandelion. Funny how the thing Deborah hated most became the symbol of everything I survived. I raise my glass to it every once in a while. To the weeds that refuse to die. To the quiet women who wait. To the midnight knocks that change everything. And most of all, to the day the clipboard finally cracked. The neighborhood is still beautiful from the outside. But I know the truth now, and so does everyone who lived through it. Power built on fines, and fear always collapses when the receipts come out. And when it does, the fall is loud, ridiculous, and, yes, deeply satisfying. So if you're out there right now, buried under medical bills and HOA nonsense, eating crackers and staring at your own ceiling stain, hear this, keep watching. Keep recording. Keep breathing. Your knock is coming. And when it arrives, smile the way I did. Because the Karen with the clipboard never sees it coming. And the woman who once lost everything, she always wins in the end.